Hello everyone. This is my commentary for a speedrun that I did of Resident Evil HD Remaster. The category is Chris New Game Any Percent, and the final time is 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 49 seconds. As of February 2015, it is the current world record. The start of the run is pretty straightforward. Just go trigger the Kenneth zombie cutscene and then return to the main hall. Most of the emphasis on Resident Evil speedrunning is in routing and understanding the rather complex enemy mechanics. In understanding the enemy mechanics, you will know how to dodge all of the enemies very efficiently, and you will only be required to have a specific amount of guns and ammunition to only kill a necessary number of enemies in order to complete the game. So the first section, we're going to go collect the golden arrow in order to get the armor key. Excuse me, the sword key. One of the first tricks that I am going to use is called stair skating. You have to do it with tank controls, and it can be done by mashing the run button really fast while you are going up and down stairs. You move about 1.5 times faster than normal on stairs, and it results in sort of a glitchy animation. That first zombie will just let you right by, so don't worry about him. Collect the golden arrow, and then you have to approach this zombie at another specific angle in order to get him to lunge at you. It's generally at the edge of a 90-degree field of view that will trigger most zombies to lunge at you and completely miss, as long as you tap back on the tank controls in time. I choose to run the game with tank controls as opposed to the new alternative control scheme because tank controls are more precise for some of the faster dodges. There's a lot less running around. This next zombie over here could be moving in any which direction. So there is a 66% chance of actually being able to dodge that particular zombie. In order to keep the fat zombie on the west side of the path from actually moving towards you, you have to stay on the east side of the path leading down into the crypt. Now, what I do here is I quick turn and go into the menu to examine the book, which results in an animation cancel and allows me to skip a little bit of the end of the quick turn animation. In order to dodge that zombie, it has to be moving at a specific angle while you're going down into the crypt, and then when you're going out, you have to hug the left side in relation to Chris's left side going out. So we'll skate back down these stairs, and we're going to head into the east side of the mansion in order to collect the chemical, a small key, and the dog whistle, which are going to be necessary to get the armor key in a second here. These dogs will not come through the windows unless you return through this path going back the other way. We will only be traversing this side of the mansion once. So what we'll do here is go into the bathroom and collect one small key in order to unlock the door to the chemical. This zombie over here is actually not a threat while it's getting up, so just go grab the key, quick turn, and exit. And then proceed into the eastern passage here to pick up the chemical The dogs here will not attack unless you are on your return trip through here. So we're going to completely avoid picking up the herbs. One important thing to note is that your health must remain at caution yellow or above in order to maintain foot speed. That zombie is going to bust out here, but don't worry about him. Your foot speed decreases by about 10%, as well as your turning radius, if your health is in caution orange or below, which is about 50% health. In order to get past this zombie, you have to preemptively begin turning around the corner here. He'll just completely lunge and miss, and then we can go into the save room here and collect this small key. Afterwards, we will proceed upstairs to collect the dog whistle necessary to trigger the fight with the two dogs. You have to hug that corner there in order to get that zombie to lunge. Once again, 90-degree field of vision, stay on the edge, and he will lunge to the right. Stay on the left side of that hallway over there, and that zombie will completely miss, roughly 99% of the time. The other 1%, when he grabs you, he will grab your back, and there's really not much you can do about that, except try to shake him off really fast before he gets in another bite. Chris can withstand anywhere between 2 to 3 bites before he falls into caution orange. This next zombie over here, you have to trigger the camera angle and check his position. He may be a little bit closer to those double doors, and if he is, then you have to run behind him. There's a very, very, very low chance that he may be at the border of the camera angle change, and he could actually bite you, which fortunately is not really that much of an issue to get bit once, but it does decrease your chances of actually completing a run. So we'll pick up this dagger here. The dagger is necessary for the fight with the two dogs coming up here. There is a roughly 50% chance that a dog will jump at you and actually attempt to initiate the instant kill animation, which is fortunately techable with a defense item. As you can see, I angle my shot towards the pathway in an attempt to fire at the dog as he comes around the corner. As soon as you hear the chains rattling, that's when you start firing. So now we're on our way to get the armor key. I re-equipped the knife because running with a knife or without a weapon equipped at all is the fastest way to run. Again, that zombie, 90-degree field of vision. Try to hug the left side of the wall, but also try to face inward towards the wall and just sort of mash backwards in order to get him to lunge at you and miss. The mirror hallway with that crimson head that just got up. Once the crimson head gets up, that hallway is now called the murder hallway. The murder hallway is quite the run-ender, because once the crimson head gets up, then the bald zombie will actually change positions about 50% of the time, and it could be blocking your path directly in the center. Sometimes when it does that, you could pass directly around him while he's lunging, but ideally we want him to be facing towards the mirror as we're exiting. Like he is there. And once again, this zombie, as we're heading out, get him to lunge at you, 90-degree field of vision, try to stay inward close to the pedestal, then hit back, he'll lunge, miss, then you can go directly for the door. Next, we're going to trigger the Richard cutscene, where we have to go get the serum for Richard. It is necessary that Richard lives, because we need the assault shotgun, which you will get after Richard dies later in the run in the shark tank. In Jill's run, Richard can die at Yawn, and you can get the assault shotgun there, but it's not quite as timely to do in Jill's run as it is in Chris's run. So during the serum rush, we have to go get the first death mask with the chemical. We have to deposit the knife, and we also have to get another small key from the keeper's room. The zombie on the other side will not be on this side unless you try to go for the broken shotgun, but broken shotgun takes way too long. We'd just be better off getting Richard's assault shotgun. Once you get the armor key, the dogs will be replaced by a zombie which will come in through the old key door upstairs. He will also block your way since you have to come back there. So we'll drop the knife and the sword key there. We no longer need both of those items for the rest of the run, but we will require the handgun for the Elder Crimson Head fight. Now, going around the corner here, this zombie, unfortunately I got a really slow dodge there, but the optimal dodge is if you see the zombie's hands sort of moving into the wall, then you can take the long way around and not lose your momentum. That grenade there is going to be necessary for defending yourself against an unlucky zombie grab, or you can save it for the first actual boss that you have to kill, which is the Elder Crimson Head. You need both the handgun and one defense grenade to be able to use against Elder Crimson Head. Now that we've killed the plant here, we will go ahead and pick up the death mask. We won't be using the item box for the rest of the mansion, so it means you have to be really, really, really tight on keeping your health up and whatnot. Those zombies busting through the window are not a big deal. Just ignore them. There's going to be 2 zombies in here. So examine the door, and in order to dodge this zombie, you hold back and right for a split second, and then move forward, and then after the zombie lunges, hold up left to grab the key, then hold up right, straighten out, and then turn towards the door to exit. For this zombie, hold up right, then you can exit through the unlockable door here. And after this, we are going to take the serum directly back to Richard, as there is not much time. Fortunately, there's just barely enough time to be able to take care of those 2 things. In the case of Richard, there is a timer that begins counting down and pauses during inventory and door sequences, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure of the mechanics here, but you have to get the serum back to Richard within that time frame as fast as possible. But I can tell you with 100% certainty that Richard will die in about 4 or 5 minutes or so. So you have to be pretty quick. So you will be teleported back to the west side of the mansion, the west side save room, and now we will stairskate back up the stairs over here. And then there's this zombie who we could run away or run around with a specific amount of luck, but otherwise you may have to try to lure him towards you and mash back on the D-pad in order to get him to lunge so that you can safely pass around him. That zombie may or may not be a good candidate to use one of 2 flashbangs that you are going to get in the first mansion scenario. Once Richard is teleported back to the infirmary, then there will actually be a zombie in the Richard hallway over here. He is completely avoidable by just taking the path around those green herbs there. Now, this next zombie is a particularly hard dodge, but the setup here is to hold back and left for a split second, and then as soon as the camera angle changes, mash back on the D-pad, and then go ahead and grab this flashbang here. They added this flashbang in the HD remaster. You will not find it in the GameCube version. So now we will enter the inventory, use the lighter, and as soon as you do that, then the zombie will come in. Ideally, we want the zombie to go towards the left side of the table. Now, as soon as the camera angle changes, hit back, because there's a zombie right there. Unfortunately, he went to the right, so it cost me about 2 seconds to get back to the door because I had to go all the way around the table again. It would have cost me even more time if I decided to shove a grenade in his mouth. But we still need that grenade for safety because there's a couple more really, really harrowing dodges before the end of Mansion 1. Now that we have the music notes, we're going to head to the piano. The next zombie coming up in the Kenneth hallway is another particularly difficult dodge. But there is one trick that I managed to figure out while running the GameCube version that does force him to lunge a good 95% of the time. If it doesn't work, then you'll have to go for a long dodge around him. But anyways, step straight, 3, 4, 5, angle towards the left side of the wall. He lunged. Now we'll pass through him and go directly to the door. In order to get the music notes here, you only have to push the shelf once. Once it's pushed, release the stick immediately, because that will cancel the rest of the pushing animation and let you go back into moving immediately. Tell Rebecca to practice. Now we're going to head back into the main hall. Rebecca will be finished playing the piano if you head back into the main hall. Hold up and right, then straighten out. The zombie will lunge backwards, but 99% of the time, he's going to miss. We'll also get the bronze emblem here. One thing that I forgot to mention is all of the text is in Japanese. The reason all of the text is in Japanese is because Japanese text has fewer characters and also scrolls faster. It can be done on any version of the game. You just have to go into your options menu and switch the language from English to Japanese. So once again, we're going to perform the same dodge. Once again, hold up and right, then straighten up on the second step. And then keep backing up. That was perfect. Now we'll pick up the gold emblem and we'll swap it with the regular bronze emblem so that we can return to the dining room and pick up the shield key, which will be necessary for getting the second death mask in the room with the giant snake. Once again, dodging this zombie, hold up and right. He'll lunge, he'll miss. Maybe even try to quick turn. If a zombie's in the middle of a quick turn animation, it still can't grab you. Interestingly enough, same with the penultimate boss fight with the Tyrant, which is actually the final boss fight in the any percent or bad ending run. This is the bad ending run. So we have to turn the large gear to the left twice. You have to make sure that the long hand, the minute hand, is going into the helmet, and the hour hand is going into the breastplate, as you can see on the picture to the left. So now that we have the shield key, we're going to go encounter Yawn. Yawn is the name of the giant snake. It can be said that the giant snake's name is Yawn because whenever it hisses, whenever it opens its mouth, it looks like it's yawning. But that is the official name for the snake, is Yawn. You have to move halfway through the room before the snake will actually trigger. In order to dodge Yawn, as Chris, what you have to do, because Chris starts directly in the center of the boss, is you have to quick turn immediately, then go directly for the death mask, and then hold up and right. Yawn will not bite you here. He'll push you back a little bit, but you can squeeze in between his head and the wall, and then just go directly for the door. The game seems to put a little bit more of a premium on Yawn's movement than it does its actual attack. At least while its head is on the ground. While its head is up, then its head can do all sorts of pretty nasty things. Now, this same zombie, who my Twitch viewers have lovingly named Billy Mays, is also very random. He can either dodge you left or dodge you right. Ideally, we want to head into the inside, but at the cost of half a second, I had to dodge towards the right side of the screen because he lunged left. So you have to push the statue on the upright, then the statue on the bottom left, then quick turn, then push the statue on the bottom right. Now turn left, then hold up and left in order to hit the button. Then we will grab the second to last death mask, which is in that jewelry box there. If all is done correctly, then you should have 2 grenades and a handgun with a sufficient number of bullets. In order to dodge this zombie, you have to twinge left on the analog stick just a little bit while you're running. Otherwise, if he spins around, he will bite you. The knob will break after going through the door twice. In real survival mode, this does not happen. So you can actually go through the door as many times as you want on real survival mode. Probably because all the item boxes are unlinked in real survival mode, and you're probably going to have to go back to store things. So we'll push this first picture switch thing and turn it orange. Then the second picture we'll have to turn green, and then the one in the center we have to turn purple in order to match all of the things on the mosaic of Lisa. So you have to use the small key that is in the inventory in order to free up one more slot before you can pick up the death mask. Now we're going to head into the crypt in order to trigger the fight with the Elder Crimson Head. All you need in order to kill Elder Crimson Head is 1 grenade and a handgun bullet. So we're just going to use the death masks, and on the 4th death mask is when you're going to equip the handgun. Now, because auto-aim is available in the any % run, we'll use it to spin around, and we're going to shoot him once in order to aggro him and get him to run. If that happens, then he will run faster, and he also has a higher chance of actually grabbing you. We want him to grab us, because we want to counter with a defense grenade. He ran, he lunged, shove a grenade into his mouth, then run around him towards the shotgun shells. We'll pick up the shotgun shells, and then we will shoot him, and then the grenade will explode quicker than it would if we just let the grenade time out and explode on its own. Now we're going to unequip the handgun and leave the crypt. In the GameCube version of the game, those shotgun shells are actually handgun bullets. So now that we've picked up the stone and metal object, that concludes the first mansion segment. In order to make this final dodge here, you have to run forward one step and then start mashing back on the D-pad. At which point the zombie will lunge and completely miss. Zombies sometimes have a propensity to do 2 grabs instead of 1 if they lunge at you and miss, but I believe it's only possible for certain zombie models to do that. If it's the white lab coat zombie, then the chance of it actually doing a chain grab where it cancels out of its missed grab and lunges at you again is not likely. So we're going to pick up this next grenade here, and we'll pick up this first aid spray. First aid spray is probably going to be necessary in Mansion 2. If you haven't taken any damage up to this point, then it is very unlikely that you are going to need it in the guardhouse. So the red weather vane here, we want to hit the switch and make sure that it is facing west. Then we'll skip this cutscene here, stair skate down towards the next one, hit the north switch. It is to stop on the north switch. And once the dog heads are facing away, the gate will unlock. Then you can stair skate down to the gate. One other thing to note is that we're not going to pick up the Magnum in this run. The only gun that Chris is going to be actually using throughout the run is the shotgun. The assault shotgun that we get from Richard. Picking up the Magnum costs roughly 3 minutes because you are going to need to get another small key in order to open up the room where you get the crest. And that costs about maybe 20 seconds on its own. Then you have to solve another puzzle, which takes another minute in order to get the crest. And then after that, you have to solve a third puzzle, which is going to take another minute or so. I realize that doesn't add up, in order to get the Magnum. The quickest weapon that you're going to get, because you can get it in literally 1 second of deviation from your route, is going to be the assault shotgun. Now we'll put away the handgun and the armor key because we no longer need those for the run. And we're going to get cold cocked by Lisa here. Fortunately, dodging Lisa is a little bit easier in the remaster. What you have to do now is, upon gaining control, you have to move forward half a step in order to trigger Lisa to swing, and then back up as much as you can. Then at the apex of the swing, start moving. It's a very, very small window, or you could even just wait for Lisa's arms to completely come down. There's a ridiculous number of active damage frames coming from that attack. Stair skate down here, dodge this other zombie here. There's a ridiculous number of active damage frames coming from that attack. So even at the parts of Lisa's swing where you would think there would be no momentum, Lisa can actually hit you. And it will take about, I'd say somewhere in the neighborhood of 33% of your health. And it's going to make it a little more likely that you are going to have to use the first aid spray in the guardhouse, which we don't want. So we'll stair skate back up the stairs here. Try to take as straight of a line as possible. It's actually very difficult to move in straight lines throughout these winding paths. A little thing about movement. Generally, the best way to learn how to move with tank controls is to hold up pretty much all the time, and then just like kind of twinge right or twinge left, and eventually you'll get the hang of it. The dogs don't spawn until after the cutscene here. And all you have to do is just hold up, and you'll just pass right around that dog there and go directly to the gate. Just hold up, don't even worry about deviating left or right. Excuse me, left or right. One other thing to note, something that I actually did not do very much in this run, is you can exit out of the inventory with one button press if you tap the N key on your keyboard, which is the inventory key on your keyboard. The controller that I use for Resident Evil HD Remaster is actually a PlayStation 2 controller. I prefer the D-pad over the analog stick because your characters always turn at a constant rate, no matter whether you're using the D-pad or the analog stick. It doesn't matter how much pressure you push on the analog stick, Chris will never turn faster or slower. He will always turn at a constant rate. So that is why I prefer the D-pad. Of course, on the Xbox 360 or even the Xbox One controller, you're going to have absolutely no choice but to use the analog stick, which kind of sucks. Because those D-pads are awful. So next, turn left a little bit, then move stairskate down, and we're going to collect those other shotgun shells there. And then get the red book. Then we'll skate back up, and we have to hit the door before the spider either decides to attack or gets wise and spits acid at us. If he spits acid, the run is over. In order to break out of the tentacle, it is best to jiggle the D-pad and the run and A keys, the run and confirm keys on your controller. I use controller type B, which is consistent with the classic Resident Evil control scheme. I don't use the L trigger to aim, R trigger to shoot scheme. It makes absolutely no sense for this game. So now we'll hold upright, grab the key, and try to trigger the door before the camera angle change. There's going to be a zombie in here. You could hear the zombie closing the door in the room behind us. It'll actually save a second if the zombie decides to wait until you are going towards the shark tank before it comes in, because you won't have to squeeze between him and the wall on the way over. Once again, jiggle out. Now we're going to go get the control room key. We have to get the control room key before we can go to the shark tank. So you should have those 5 items in your inventory, just 12 shotgun shells, a first aid spray, the crank, the red book, and the control room key. As a general rule, when you go to pick up shotgun shells, you have to try and find the shotgun shell pickups that are going to be on tables or something like that, because there won't be an animation where Chris bends down to pick them up. Any animation or any shotgun shell pickup where Chris does not bend down to pick them up is going to be a shotgun shell pickup that you want to get. So we have to push both of those shelves once each in order to climb down the ladder here. Because then the trigger to enter the room will be wide open. One thing that I would like to point out with Resident Evil HD Remaster, or really any classic Resident Evil game, is that it's not really possible to sequence break any of the game because of the way the game is programmed. All of the backgrounds are pre-rendered and each room is loaded individually. And outside of that, a lot of the doors also have certain triggers. So even if you found a way to clip through, say, for instance, the armor key puzzle with the death trap, you actually cannot exit the room. We've tried this with walk through walls before, and you actually cannot trigger the door, even if you go all the way down the stairs before the death trap hits. So once we've done this, pushed all the boxes, made a bridge, we're going to go into the shark tank over here, excuse me. Generally, the best way to make sure that the sharks do not attack you is to try and stay on the inside of the aqua ring as much as possible. The inside of the outer course of the aqua ring. If you try to go to the inner course, then the sharks will, without fail, catch up to you, and you will get bit once. So it's better to go the outside path, because you don't lose your momentum, and you can trigger the corner of the door. So this is a puzzle that I would imagine has stumped a lot of players. We'll hit this button first in order to attempt to drain the water. But of course, we can't do that because sharks are jerks, and it seems they've figured out that they can lock you into a room and flood it with water by bashing through the window. So we'll turn off the safety on the shutter, and then we'll try to pull down the shutter. But of course, the oil pressure does not work. So now we have to figure out the oil pressure part of the puzzle, which can be done by examining the whiteboard. Again, Japanese, 1 text box, but you can see the 2 in the bottom left of that text box. Then go hit the number 2. The number is random each time. Then we'll turn off the safety again, and then lower the shutters. After which we are completely safe. Now we can drain the water. You can save about a few seconds with optimized movement. Basically, not wasting any turns and plotting your trajectory, or your lines as they were, about 2 sections to the puzzle in advance. So if you saved Richard earlier, then he got eaten by the shark before the puzzle, and his shotgun is here now. You can pick up the assault shotgun, which is now going to be your primary weapon throughout the rest of the run. Coming up here is a bit of a skip. It's called the shark skip. Instead of electrocuting it, you drop down into the water and then hold up left, and once Chris is facing a 90-degree angle while running from where you initially drop down into the water, then you can straighten out and move towards the key and then exit. It's actually a lot easier than it looks. It just takes a little bit of muscle memory and a little bit of practice to get down, but once you've figured it out, you can do it without fail 100% of the time. You just have to pay attention, and you have to hold up and left in order to make the turn, because if you try to turn before moving, then you will hit the railing and the shark will eat you, and the game is over. So after this, we have to wrap up a few more things before we can fight Plant 42. We now have the gallery key. This zombie dodge over here, just sort of face the desk and go forward and back. Then he'll lunge, and if he lunges, then you can pass around towards Chris's left, or the zombie's right, and just wedge yourself between the wall and the zombie, and you'll kind of push him out of the way. The zombie has push properties whenever he lunges and misses, so you can actually push some zombies out of the way if they lunge and they miss. If they're not actively attacking, then you can shove zombies around a little bit. which is one of the interesting, intricate things about some of the enemy mechanics in this game. So now we're going to grab the map, and once we grab the map, you have to mash the cancel button. If you mash A while you're getting out of the text box after picking up the map, then you will accidentally trigger another cutscene where bees will fly out and you'll waste another 5 seconds or so. Then after that, open the inventory, use the pesticide, kill them. There's actually a little bit of RNG there. RNG stands for random number generator. Basically, it's just a fancy way of saying that something is random. There's a little bit of RNG there. The bees have to die really fast in order to get an optimal time, so it's like a static way to lose time, and it won't even be your fault. You could lose a couple of seconds if the bees don't die fast enough. So now what we're going to do is we're going to equip the shotgun and then solve this puzzle. Move the first one into the 4th slot, then move the 7th one into the 3rd slot, and then move the 6th one into the 2nd slot. And now we have a picture that is too hot for YouTube and too hot for Twitch. So skip this cutscene here, and now we're going to mash all the way up the stairs here. You have to stay at a very specific section and listen for the pedals to open. You can get in 4 shots on the first cycle. You have to stay at a very specific spot in order to be able to move forward and back to dodge tentacles. On the second cycle, you have to shoot 3 times in order to trigger this cutscene, which means the plan is weakened. Now you have to stand a little bit closer to the circular path around in order to not get hit by the poison bulb on the left side of the screen. But you will also avoid all of the acid spit. Sometimes you'll get hit by tentacles, there's nothing you can do about that, and it will force you into a 3-cycle, or into a 3-shot cycle. But generally the boss will be dead after 4 cycles. And it takes, let's see, 22 minus 8. It takes 14 shotgun shells, anywhere between 13 to 14 shotgun shells to kill Plant 42. It'll take a little bit of practice to get the Plant 42 fight down perfectly, but if you know what you're doing, you can even do the fight perfectly on real survival mode. One thing to note about the shotgun, the assault shotgun, is there is a trick called pump canceling. It works with most two-handed weapons, but the catch is the character has to be raising the gun from their hip as opposed to from their shoulder. If they are raising the gun to their shoulder, then you cannot pump cancel. But the way pump canceling works is between shots, you release your aim and then hit up in order to return your character to a neutral standing position between shots. In doing so, you will actually fire it a lot faster because you will be skipping past the shotgun's pump animation. Around the time I upload this video, I'm going to try to have a video showing how to pump cancel. So this other section here is a potential run under. You have to run in a very precise line and then turn really tightly around that corner there where I just kind of stutter stepped for a second or got caught on the corner in order to avoid those 2 snakes. I like to call them the Danmaku snakes because, you know, Danmaku shooters, the really crazy Japanese bullet hell shooters. Just take this outer path here and go towards the door. The dog will actually avoid you in Remaster. Now, because I ran a little bit low on shotgun shells from Plant 42, I decided to pick up an extra box of shotgun shells here. You need about 9 shotgun shells. Actually, you require 9 shotgun shells at minimum to ensure that you kill Yawn, which is the giant snake. We're going to fight the giant snake again in the Mansion 2 segment. Now that we're in the Mansion 2 segment, this is what we have to do. We're going to trigger this cutscene, then go through the door. So, this is a very, very, very tough dodge to get. Go towards the door, then pause for a second, let the hunter come towards you, and you want him to swipe with his left claw and waste an action so that he doesn't jump onto the second flight and basically block you from dodging the second hunter. Because if he jumps, then it means that you will be forced to shoot both hunters in order to pass around them. Again, very, very tight dodge, so it's best to try and get the hunter to swipe with its left claw so that it completely misses. Sometimes it'll swipe with its right claw, like it did in the dodge that I went through just now. I was actually very lucky that I got through that alive and took only 1 hit. So we have to push this statue all the way down to the end, then go around, hit the switch, and then push the statue onto the left platform over there. The basement section and our return trip through the murder hallway, once again, are potential run-unders here, actually. Fortunately, we have a first aid spray in case something goes very, very wrong, but there's a lot of really, really tight dodges. We have to grab this red book here, and now we will go into the basement. Because I was forced to grab the extra case of shotgun shells, I'm going to have to use my first aid spray early, as soon as I get the battery, which will cost about a second. If you just take a very straight path through those spiders, then they will miss you every time. Don't bother grabbing the dagger here. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to squeeze around the oil drum to pass that zombie there, and then what he'll do is he'll turn right and start running into the wall, then we'll run behind him again. This was a really, really lucky dodge. It was like a 1% chance that I actually managed to get that dodge, but sometimes the last zombie will be closer to the center, and then we'll have to force him to lunge in order to dodge around him, which would cost another second. Now this zombie, I'm not exactly sure if there's a faster way to dodge around him, but instead we'll have to go forward and back. Try to catch the field of vision 90 degrees to his right, and then get him to lunge, and then pass around him and go upstairs. So what we'll do next is we're going to quick turn and then hold up, and then angle right a little bit. I got really unlucky there and was forced to use one of my flash grenades, but usually you can just pass around that zombie. So we'll grab the battery and pick up this other flash grenade here. I like to have as many flash grenades as possible so as to kill a few necessary zombies later in the lab, but also as a bit of extra cushion against our return trip to the murder hallway. We'll unlock the door again, and now we're back in the murder hallway. This zombie here, I have no idea why I took a bite there, but I did. It happened. Really unfortunate. Got grabbed by this one too. You can see why I call this the murder hallway. You can shake off a zombie after one bite if you do the same trick that I outlined while getting past the tentacles in the guardhouse, which is basically to jiggle the D-pad, the run, and the confirm buttons as hard as you can. So now, we are going to encounter Yawn for the final time. Now we can't quick shot here, we can't pump cancel here, because Chris raises his shotgun to the shoulder. So we have to fire 3 shots, and after firing 3 shots, we will quick turn and then go down the ladder. Then after we trigger this camera angle here is when we fire 5 more shots, which will kill the boss. The boss dies in, at minimum, 8 shotgun shells. Sometimes you will get really unlucky and you will be forced to use a 9th shotgun shell. Now we'll reload the shotgun in order to get an extra inventory space, then unequip the shotgun. Once again, unequipping shotgun means that you will run faster. You have no gun equipped. Our inventory is full at this point, so we have to go to the item box in order to drop off the shotgun, the blue book, and the red book. Then we can go back upstairs to get the red jewel. And only the red jewel. You don't get the yellow jewel unless you are going for the best ending strategy. That crimson head there can just be totally avoided. One other thing you can do is actually hold the confirm button while going up to a door, and the door will open on the first possible frame. So item box here. One thing I would like to mention about the way that I handle the inventory boxes is there's a little scroll animation if you hit up and down on the D-pad or the control stick while you are scrolling through the item box, but instead I use the left trigger and the right trigger to manipulate those because there is no animation and it takes 1 frame as opposed to 3 frames every time it scrolls. So we'll start by turning off the light here, and then we'll push that forward, and then move towards the corner of the table, and then when the hawk is facing us, we'll go under him and climb up the thing and go directly to the red jewel with roughly 1 to 2 seconds to spare. If the hawk is facing you when you are trying to get the jewel, then the hawk will not let you take the jewel. This next hunter over here, the trick is to move behind him so that he screams at you. And if he screams at you, then he will waste an action and you will be already halfway through the door by the time he's done and decides to run after you. Hunters are actually a lot stupider than they look. They're like velociraptors, only really, really, really stupid. This next zombie coming up here in this room where we have to pick up the jewelry box, we want to have him move 2 steps. 1, 2, and then we shoot out around him and then move in a circle around him so that we can phase through him and then hit the door trigger. After you've collected the item, like once you've pushed yes, then you just have to hold run and confirm and you will trigger the door immediately. He won't even lunge at you. Oh yeah, so one thing to mention, I traded the shotgun for the first aid spray in the item box, and then I moved the red book and the blue book into the next 2 pages back. We need the first aid spray as a countermeasure for some RNG that is probably going to happen in this next section here with the courtyard. Now this hunter over here, just nudge left on the analog stick while you're holding up. He screams like an idiot before he slashes, so you can just clip between him and the wall and go to the door. If you try to move to the right, then it's more than likely that he will slash immediately. Besides, going to the left is actually split seconds faster. and easier to do. Once again, in order to pass around this dog over here, hold up. Now we're going to go put in the battery. We have to do another particularly tight dodge around these snakes. Hug the left side of this passage here, and then move towards the corner there, and you should actually dodge the 2 lunging snakes on either corner. Now you will never have to worry about getting poisoned by snakes again. If you get poisoned, then it's the same effect as being in Caution Orange. Your foot speed will drop, you'll be limping, and the only way that you can get out of it is by bending down and picking up a blue herb, which will cost about 4 seconds if we got poisoned here. More than 4 seconds even. And on top of that, it will allow these dogs to get all up in your business. The dogs in Remaster, if you pass around them and you are at a far enough distance, they will actually growl. They have a new AI pattern where they just growl and don't run after you for a little bit. They just sort of give you a little bit more of a head start. The dogs in HD Remaster, or in Resident Evil Remake in general, are actually, they're actually pretty broken, because if a dog uses its grab animation from behind, where it throws up its head and then catches your arm, it can actually spin you 180 degrees in a single frame and basically allow its buddies to swarm you, and you could get stun locked repeatedly. Believe me when I say that is something that you absolutely do not want to happen. And I'm actually glad that they added a new pattern that makes the dogs slightly less aggressive. So now we're going to head down to talk to Enrico, and then get the hex crank. We will be getting the hex crank in order to solve the rest of the puzzles in the catacombs here. There's another hunter coming up, but again, yeah, that just happens. He just screams like an idiot, then you can pass right around him. They're just bluffing. Just ignore them. But the next 2 hunters over here, you have to just run in a specific path in order to keep both of them from being able to stun lock you. If a hunter tags you in the leg, then Chris will be doubled over for about 2 seconds, and if you are really unlucky, then its buddy will come in behind and chop your head off. So while we're using the hex crank here, now is when we want to solve this puzzle, because it is quicker to do it in this inventory trip here. We eliminate an inventory opening and closing by solving the jewelry box puzzle while we are in the catacombs here. We still have a first aid spray, and we can use that to get around the giant spider coming up here. So now we'll grab the flamethrower, which we will need in order to burn off the web. And once this camera angle is triggered, then you can quick turn immediately, and try not to run on the inside path because there's an invisible wall there. It's a really, really cheap way for the boulder to catch you and kill you. just run the center path before turning left. So now that the spider is here, you want to hold upright in hopes that he will dash attack. And fortunately, he dash attacked. So now we are going to hold left and go immediately towards the web as quickly as we possibly can, because now he has to spend even more time trying to turn around before he can dash attack you again. Sometimes he'll just raise his legs and give you even more time to get out of there, but if I stayed in there for another half second, then he would have actually knocked me over, and I wouldn't have been able to escape from that. He would have just knocked me over, and I would have been forced to mash in order to get up, and I probably would have been in a lot worse condition than I already am now, which is fortunately fine, but just trying to economize on my first aid sprays, because we want this to be the last first aid spray that we actually have to use. So now what we're going to do is solve this puzzle. We push this statue over here 4 times down, then move over to the crank hole over here in order to push it out. And then we will move in a little bit of a circle around here to push it towards the center pedestal. And then we are going to push it once. Then we are going to push it 2 more times. Really, 1.5 more times. I have no idea what happened here. I just kind of got caught there. But by pushing it another half time, it will keep the spinny thing on the ground from forcing Chris into a turn, which would eat up a couple of seconds. Then we'll push it another half push once again to prevent the spinny thing from turning Chris around. And then we will push up in order to set it into its final resting place, then get the cylinder. Now we are going to take the cylinder all the way back into the room next to where Enrico got killed. But first, we have to pass through Black Tiger. There is a chance that he may not dash here this time. I generally like to wait half a second to see if he dashes, but if he doesn't, then we have to take a very, very long path around the room. Because if he doesn't, then he could actually spit acid directly into our path. And that's not very good either. So if he doesn't dash, then that's when you want to take the safety strat. Sometimes he can spin around and knock you over, but as long as you are staying on the outside of the room, you can prevent him from actually knocking you over whenever he does that. Black Tiger was made actually much, much, much more aggressive in the HD remaster for reasons I cannot even comprehend. Now we're going to take the cylinder and combine it in the menu, then use it. And the code is 4231. Then we'll hit the corner. The event trigger for that box there is on the corner. And then head through the door here. Now this is our second encounter with Lisa Trevor. There is a way to manipulate where Lisa will spawn. You have to move to the left here, and then when you trigger that camera angle, then Lisa will spawn over there as opposed to spawning next to the lever that we are passing around right now. That way, she is completely out of our path, and we are free to go to push this box that contains a broken flamethrower. Push that once into the animation, struggle meticulously to get around the box, then push it again. It seems that the threshold for pushing items is a little weird in HD Remaster. If you push a box, then Chris has a little bit of a propensity to sort of turn inward toward one of the sides that you can push the box. There's probably less of a chance of that actually happening with the alternate control scheme. It's probably a little more optimal to push it with the alternate control scheme. So now Lisa is going to spawn directly into our path. And there was nothing that I could have done about that, except pop my first aid spray and move on. But I tried to get her to lunge it, or to swing forward. Sometimes she can do a 180 swing when you pass around her, and the tail end of that attack will hit you, and it's pretty brutal whenever it happens, because it takes away a lot of HP. So now we're going to push this box so that it lines up with the girder on the right of the garbage compactor, or that vertical board on the floor. Then push it forward a little bit more, and then crush the box. And now we have a broken flamethrower. Which we now need in order to exit the area. We're not going to use any more item boxes until after we've used the 2 stone and metal objects to make our way towards the final encounter with Lisa, which is in about 5 minutes from now. So I found that the easiest way to get the flamethrower into the mantle over here is to trigger Lisa to spawn left, and then pull the lever here. It takes about 15 seconds before the things that protrude there come out. And now we're going to try and get Lisa to swing forward, then back off, and then head directly towards that door. This section of the game is actually going to be pretty safe for the next 5 minutes or so. Just focusing on running straight lines. And then we pick this up. Now, similar to what we did with the Book of Curse at the very beginning of the game, we're going to quick turn, and in the middle of the quick turn, we will open the inventory and exit, because we would have canceled halfway through the quick turn, which would have been faster than just holding right and exiting the inventory. We're just kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone by triggering that tiny little animation cancel there. So now we're going to head set out to pick up the stone and metal objects. We got the stone ring from the jewelry box, and now we have to go pick up the metal object, which can be gotten with the key that we got from the 1 jewelry box earlier. That zombie in the graveyard there, just hold up in order to pass around him. That's all you have to do. You just have to hold up on the tank controls, and you will pass directly around him. You could pick up that first aid spray there for a little bit of cushion if you want, but you actually do not need it for the rest of the run. So now we'll pick up the stone and metal object from the door over there. The one that we set in after we killed Elder Crimson Head. It will lock that door, and now we can use the key to this study over here. Upon entering here, we're going to hear Rebecca scream, but we're just going to let her die. We pick up a grenade and another metal object there, and there was also a box of shotgun shells that we could get at the cost of 1 second. Not even a second, actually. It would have been faster to pick up that box of shotgun shells in that drawer than it would have been to bend down and pick up another box. In the room with the first aid spray coming out of the courtyard. Now we have both of the stone and metal objects, and we are going to now use both of them in order to open the final passage into the laboratory and into the last area of the game. There's our girl Lisa again. And now we're going to mash down the stairs here. Stair skate down the stairs. And once again, with the L trigger, we're going to very quickly get rid of the 2 cranks and pick up the red book, the blue book, and the assault shotgun. We need the assault shotgun for a couple of monsters and the final Tyrant fight. So with Wesker here, we have to hope that Lisa is aggroed by Wesker shooting at her. We'll push the first block to the west, the second block to the south. And we're going to wait until Lisa gets sort of into the center there before we dodge around her, because if we're any closer to the edge and she hits us and we take a hit, then we are going to plummet and the run will be over. And that's a skull. In order to get into the laboratory, you need to take out 2 medals from the 2 books that we picked up during Mansion 2. The wolf medal, which is in the blue book. Eagle of South, Wolf of North. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you're playing the GameCube version, then this is where you would switch over to the second disc. Now we're going to... Our first trip is to the computer, which we need to unlock a couple of doors and get a key. sort of hang around this railing over here and try to either dodge behind that zombie or get him to lunge at you. It is recommended that you try and lure him around the railing so that you can run behind him. And every zombie on stairs, by the way, I never mentioned this throughout the course of the run. By the way, we're going to shove a defense grenade into this guy's mouth. This is non-negotiable. You absolutely have to kill this zombie. If a zombie is on the stairs, then it is always going to vomit 100% of the time. So the login is John. The password to access the system is Ada. A-D-A. And then it is Cell, C-E-L-L, to unlock the door to the media room on floor B2. And then we are going to unlock the room to the Nitro fueling station on floor B3 as well. Now we can exit. If you shoved a grenade into a zombie's mouth, then it will despawn. You don't even have to wait for the grenade to blow it up, because its HP will have dropped to 0 and it's not coming back. Skate up these stairs and then try to hang towards the corner there because there's a zombie right there. And then just hold A in order to trigger the opening. The code there is 8462 to open the hidden passage there. If you get the slide cartridge in the Nitro fueling station and use it on the projector, then you will have gotten the solution. Hold up here, the zombie will completely miss, then mash down the stairs here. And now we're going to go pick up the Nitro canister, but we are also going to eliminate 1 or 2 more monsters. I actually don't remember how many I eliminated here, but I think I tried to dodge around this first zombie here. Actually, no, I didn't. I just shoved a grenade in his mouth. Bye-bye. I picked up maybe 1 more grenade than I needed to. Now we're going to take the shotgun and blow this chimera away. Generally, the closer you are to the chimera, the more damage it is going to do. So you should probably get closer to the chimera and shoot him twice in order to kill him, instead of fire at him from midway down the hall like I just did. The sniper shotgun strats. And now we have the canister. Now the Nitro run is one of the most harrowing parts of the run, because you're getting this far into the game and now you're going to be moving back to where you just got that Nitro canister with a full canister of nitroglycerin. What happens when we run with nitroglycerin? We explode. We don't want to explode. I don't like exploding. I really don't like exploding. I decided to decapitate this zombie here, because if I used the grenade there, then I would have had to wait for the grenade to explode so that I don't wind up killing myself with the nitro if the grenade didn't kill me first, or kill my run speed, whichever came first. Now, the mechanics of the nitro canister work as such. You have to walk 3 steps, then run 2 steps. This number carries over between rooms. So at the start of every room opening, you have to walk up a few steps, and then you have to run a few steps. The counter does not reset between doors. It does in the GameCube version, but it does not in the HD remaster. 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1. don't run down these stairs. And now you see why we had to kill those enemies. Because if we didn't, then we would have gotten grabbed, and that actually will result in death. Because there is a percentage chance that you will set the nitro canister over the edge, and it will basically blow everything up. Everything. And once we put down the nitro canister, we are safe to run again. Just don't give a care in the world to any of these chimeras here. You can just phase right around them and just go directly to the door. And try to get out of here as quickly as possible. Chimeras, the mechanics for chimeras are a little something like this. If their bodies are to the ground, then they will attack quicker. But if they're standing around and moving on their hind legs, like that one is right there, then it will try to initiate a downward swipe, which is actually really, really, really slow to start up, and is actually very easy to run around, as long as you nudge left or nudge right. While they are starting up that attack, you cannot push around them. So now we'll push this button to activate the elevator and move over to the final boss fight of the game. There's another box of shotgun shells. It's a little bit hidden, but you can pick it up right here. Because we did not rescue Rebecca nor Jill, we are getting the bad ending for the game, but it's also the fastest route through the game. So we'll skip these cutscenes here, and then we're going to run to the safety release lock, which is on the other side of this laboratory here. Then we're going to reload the shotgun and keep pressing R until Chris auto-turns towards the Tyrant. And, of course, being that Chris is trying to go for the sniper shotgun strats, which I'm actually not sure what is influenced by, we're going to have to shoot him like 9 shots from a distance. Now that that's done, we will pick up the key and also open the lock to this room. That master key will take us to the heliport where we can use the signal rockets and then end the game. There is a final boss fight that would show up here if we were going for the good ending. But that is the 100% category, which is best ending. So Super Tyrant does not appear on the heliport. We didn't grab any Mo discs. We didn't save Rebecca from the hunter. All that is left is to go to the heliport and end the game from here. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the outcome of this run. I probably made about maybe 20 to 25 seconds of error by my estimate, some of which could not be helped. But I'm hoping that this video will actually be useful as a speedrun tutorial for anyone else who wants to play Chris any percent for a speedrun. Personally, I find that the real bread and butter of Resident Evil HD Remaster speedrunning is in real survival mode, where auto-aim is disabled, you're playing on hard mode, and you also have item boxes unlinked. And that's the end of the game.
Chris, you did a fine job.
The final time is 1:24:49. The timer continues to run while you are in your inventory, while you are going through doors, and while the game is paused. But that's pretty much it. So, thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I did making it. If you like what you see, please be sure to check out all of the other videos on my channel. And also check me out on Twitch TV at twitch.tv/carcinogensda. Once again, thank you all for watching, and have a good rest of your day.